8211.
Okay, we're going to talk about media today, the thing that occupies most of our time. How many hours a day are you watching? How are your children watching? What's happening to television, newspapers, magazines? In about 3.5 years, they will all be owned by one person. 6 persons. Here's who's here. Jeffrey Chester joined us. You are with the Center for Media Education. You believe the corporatization of media is bad for the consumer. Mr. Chester will say, if I ever give him a chance on this television program, that you ought to stay awake about what's happening out across cyberspace and the new electronic highway and all of that. We have a concentration of power in media that is not good for us. Jeff Greenfield is the famous face you see so often on Nightline and other ABC programs. He is the ABC News analyst. Mort Zuckerman joins us. He is editor-in-chief, as you know, of U.S. News and World Report. You may have seen him on a number of other programs, including all those screamers on CNN, Crossfire, and all those folks. You hold your own. I'm not sure how you do this, Mort. No picnic in there. That's body contact sport there. Emily Rooney is likewise here as Director of Political Coverage and Special News Events for Fox Television. Yes, she works for an agency that is owned by Rupert Murdoch, who owns just about everything else on this globe. Well, I would ask you, Mr. Chester, sir, to set the table for us. What troubles you about the corporatization of media?
Well, we're witnessing an unprecedented concentration and consolidation of control over our media system in this country today, and there are at least 4 dangers. One, there's a danger to the free flow of ideas. The big media companies are preventing diverse points of view from appearing on television, broadcast television and cable television. There's a real threat to having quality and serious journalism. The big media companies don't want serious reporting on issues that they're involved with when they have businesses involved in various areas, including telecommunications. It's a threat to our pocketbooks because all these mergers are going to raise cable prices and create a pay-per-view society. And ultimately, it's a threat to the quality of our democratic culture.
Would you give us an example of a story that you think wasn't covered or covered badly? Because
the best example is the telecommunications bill now being debated before Congress. This is going to change the landscape of everything we know about the American media system, how we get information, how we pay for information, what our sources of information will be. And for the most part, with an exception of one Nightline done by ABC News, you would never know what the implications for this bill are for the American public if you watch the 3 broadcast networks, Fox and CNN, and if you read Time Magazine and Newsweek. They're simply not reporting what's going on and how their own companies are involved in lobbying this legislation through.
Yeah, they're scared of the tobacco companies, too.
They've also caved in to the tobacco companies.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a coincidence that during the transfer of 2 important big media companies, ABC to Disney and CBS to Westinghouse, just at the point they're about to transfer control, they censor stories or apologize to the big tobacco companies.
And will a critic, for example, on Good Morning America criticize a Disney movie?
You know, I think the question is, will Disney ABC look critically at issues that directly affect the Disney bottom line? And I think they're going to be, there's a lot of self-censorship going on, Phil, in the media today.
You can't prove a negative. You can't prove what story a news agency did not chase. For example, I think CBS and NBC will be very conscientious in reporting, for example, fines administered against GE's defense business for kickbacks or whatever it may be. We've got a long history of that. They will report that religiously, and so will CBS. What we don't know is what they won't report. And these 2 giant networks are now owned by nuclear power companies.
That's right. 2 of the 4 networks are now owned by companies that either promote nuclear power or involved in the defense industry, and I think this is very troubling. There's a lot of self-censorship going on at the networks today and at the news magazines about a variety of issues when their own corporate bottom line is affected.
I want the power the tobacco companies have over the media. The tobacco companies go, boom. Jeff, you made Diane Sawyer apologize. ABC apologize. Why do you make the women apologize? I mean, this wasn't a woman's story. ABC News grovels, not unlike CBS News, the tobacco companies. God forbid we should offend the tobacco companies. And while we're at it, I'm on a roll. Mort Zuckerman, you've done very well in the business world. Your mother must be very proud of you. You are a well-raised Canadian who came here and made a lot of money with Boston Properties. You are a very good businessman. and you are foursquare, for example, in favor of doing business with China, should we expect any other view from a person like you? The Village Voice and others have wondered aloud whether you really understand the oppression and the denial of rights that's going on in this nation of 1+ billion people.
I'm still trying to figure out when I got control of ABC and made Diane Sawyer apologize. This is... how did I do this, Phil?
Phil,
well, we're blaming you for it because you're the only one at hand.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
I'm a former ABC.
Right. You didn't make her do it either.
For example, would U.S. News and World Report run a commentary against MFN for China? And has it?
Well, no, we didn't. We actually editorialized in favor of it because we believe there should be MFN with China.
You do?
Yes.
And that's your right?
Yes.
And I admire you for this, and I am instructed by your writings. I read you all the time.
Thank you.
But I would ask you, where is the diversity of opinion in your magazine, and how would anybody who disagrees with the powerful Mort Zuckerman possibly get an idea in your magazine?
I don't know why this reminds me of Georgie Jessel, who was sued at the age of 86 in a paternity suit, and he said he was so proud he pleaded guilty. So I will just say to you, I appreciate the characterization, but we're a news magazine, and on the news pages of the magazine, we don't publish opinions. It's only on the editorial pages that we publish opinions, and that happens to be my opinion.
Right.
So we, in that sense, don't have that kind of diversity, but unlike most other news magazines, we do at least have editorials.
But
I would
isn't
just
Mr.
say
Chester's point
No,
made
no,
here?
no, 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 no. First place, we have no business at all with China. So that's just a matter of our judgment on what the policy of the United States should be. And it has been our experience for 30 years that when we deal with communist and totalitarian countries, the maximum exchange of people, ideas, and commerce and goods is the most rapid way to make them change their societies. And I would argue that if you had been to China, as I have been in the last 15 years, they have gone through a staggering change. This is not to say, excuse me, let me just finish. It's not to say it's not a totalitarian country, but there's been a huge explosion and increase in their personal liberties and their economic liberties. They now at least get, the individual gets, the results of his own work or his own land, which was not the case.
We have more than 1 million people in jail. And
Well,
most
listen,
of them are there because they either said something they shouldn't have.
Listen, it is not a it is not a democracy. I'm not suggesting that. It is just that there has been a great transformation of their society, frankly, in the direction that we would like, even though that's not what's presented all the time on the news.
I think we have to go back to the point, that 5 companies are quickly dominating the American media landscape.
Time Warner,
these companies,
Disney.
That's right, Time Warner,
Disney,
and Disney,
Westinghouse,
Telecommunications,
TCI
Incorporated, a Fox, and you have some phone companies that are interrelated.
Yeah, but
what you really don't, look, most people get their information from television, all right, in this country, not from U.S. News and World Report. And what's happened with television is you have a concentration of control, and you have this diverse perspective. You have these super media monopolies developing that are preventing diversity of points of view on cable.
The whole record is against you.
Let's look at
20 years. Let me just
make his point.
20 years ago, 25 years ago, we only had 3 networks. We now have 5, and there are several others in the process of being created. There are many more cable networks. We have much more diversity today than we had 20 or 25 years ago. And I would argue
by only 5 people, Mort.
Well,
it's true. We have all kinds of diversity in terms of cable channels,
right now,
but they're owned by the same people.
Right now, the networks, there are 5 networks. There are only 3, okay? That's a 2/3 increase. That's not so bad. And there are going to be more. There are going to be several more that are going to be started.
Right.
So I don't agree that we have had a concentration. We've had a diversity of ownership, even though the individual companies have gotten larger.
Right.
And frankly, we've had a diversity of programming, if you look at what's happened in cable and on the news coverage.
Yes.
Look at what happened when NBC wanted to NBC an all-news channel.
Try and
about 10
control
years
yourself,
ago.
will you, Emily? We want to
Emily,
talk
yes.
here. Go ahead.
John Malone
Go ahead,
prevented NBC, giant GE, from creating an all-news channel. So for the last 10 years, this country has missed effective competition on cable television to CNN. When the merger goes through between Time Warner and Ted Turner with John Malone being affiliated, one cable company in this country will control half of all the cable systems and really dominate all the programming. One company will determine what we see and don't see, and that's very dangerous for diversity of ideas.
Can we get a little diversity on this?
Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Jeff. Doesn't mean we don't respect your view.
No, I understand.
There is no question that any time you combine and consolidate organs of communication, you need to be concerned and worried. However, in my view, this misconceives the central issue, which is no matter what level of news you are distributing, whether it's the hometown paper or the multinational company, When you combine news gathering with a private, profit-making enterprise, which is so far the most effective alternative to command control governments, you have a problem. You had a problem in the 1950s, long before these mergers, when advertisers told people what could and could not go on television. When in judgment at Nuremberg on Playhouse 90, you couldn't use the word gas chamber because the American Gas Association was sponsoring the program. When a program sponsored by Ford ordered the Chrysler building painted out of the New York skyline. The small-town newspaper, if that owner is also on the board of the hospital or the community chest and his friends are all in the country club, can stifle opinion in ways where you would want a large company immune to local pressure. My point about this is, in making this analysis, you have to look at the fundamental issue of, is there or is there not a free flow of opinion? If the new Disney ABC company will not permit coverage, let's say, when Disney goes into another theme park issue, if CBS and NBC and Fox will jump on it, we're okay. The problem is, Phil, if we get to the point when you don't have that diversity, and I'm not saying one shouldn't worry about that, I'm saying let's look at on the ground at where the flow of opinion is going. Right now, the problems are substantial, and they were substantial 50 years ago when we didn't have this.
The former executive producer of Peter Jennings' World News Tonight on ABC, and now the director of political coverage and special news events for Fox Television, Emily Rooney, would like to say.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to say that I think Jeffrey ascribes sinister, attitudes towards why we don't cover certain things on television, like the telecommunications bill. I mean, it's complicated and it's boring, and people aren't going to stick around to watch it. You can read about it in the newspaper. There was some wonderful coverage about it today. Let me just make a point about, just wait, please, diversity.
Go ahead.
I think that there has been a creeping, insidious influence by business, and you can call it the media conglomerations, the new mergers, on the bottom line, which is television news. There are certain things that are untouchable. Tobacco companies have become untouchable. This is very sad. I think that both of those network decisions have a far-reaching impact, especially into local television. You can't cover the lottery. You can't cover the state lottery because the state lottery is part of local newscasts across the country. They base their, they all try to get, the state lottery as part of their newscast, and then they can't do an investigative report about the lottery. You can't do investigative reports about car dealerships, and you can't do it about a lot of fast food restaurants either, because they'll come after you and they'll take your advertising away.
You're talking about local reporting now.
That's local,
Yes.
but now we see it happening on the network level.
Doesn't the people deserve to know that every day
We should be
the
reporting
lobbyists for the four networks, including yours, goes up to Capitol Hill, all right, and gets legislation through that takes $70 billion worth of public property, $70 billion that could lower our taxes, pay for Medi-Cal, pay for welfare, and gives it away to the broadcasters without any quid pro quo. There's all this special interest lobbying going on by the networks, and no one would ever know if you watched the evening newscasts or listened to CNN.
Yes. And why are our talking heads so conservative? There is no left anymore. There's no left at all. We have center and right.
But okay, that's a very good question. But I would argue that the reason why there are very few, present company accepted, bleeding heart liberals on television is because the culture is because the political culture has changed. This is the only country in the world. This is where at least let me make the point.
Right.
Thank you.
Conservatives are more interested.
No, Phil. This is the only industrialized nation in the world without a mass labor or socialist party. It's been that way for 150 since there was socialism, since Marx showed up. So it's not surprising that in the mass media you have less, and you have less of a reflection of a serious left because we don't have a serious political left. In addition to which, even since the 1960s, when something close to liberalism or leftism was in flower, the country has moved very hard right. Now,
does that mean that we should have...
Not express the commercialization
make your point. Jeff, we have to break here. We're still a commercial television program.
If the point is that we have much too centrist, soft, mushy talking heads, you're right.
Rob, no, I'm saying something else. I'm saying that you do not... Michael Kinsley and who? And he's leading us, myself.
And that was it.
Let me tell you, here's how I am instructed by Ralph Nader on this issue. He said it simply, and I believe this is the core of the truth. The reason he suggests this, that we have so many conservatives on television and so few liberals, is because conservatives attack government and liberals attack corporations.
What I would say,
I believe that
what
to
I
be
would say
true.
very quickly is, if you had a person on the left who knew how to use the media the way Rush Limbaugh does, he would be on 500 stations, given his...
What was
They would
what
not
was
be a
won with Jim
single-
Hightower?
That's right. They would not be a
How did he
sponsor
offended
for
Michael
that
Eisner?
show.
He
Yeah.
offended
There's a
Disney
government-
and ABC.
I
He
would
called the mouse a rodent.
I would suggest...
Mickey Mouse. A rodent. And he was gone in
When you
6
have a
minutes.
Rupert Murdoch and a John Malone in control of the cable system, and these people have conservative politics, those politics reflect their choices in who's on the news.
Excuse me, what's the most left-wing show on television? Quickly. The show that most attacks corporate power in America and challenges the corporate
I
agenda.
think Frontline
It's
does
The
once in a while.
Simpsons.
The Simpsons.
On Rupert Murdoch's network, The Simpsons is a show which pounds away at the conventional corporate wisdom.
Right.
And it's in prime
So, here
time,
we are.
and it's
Listen
sponsored
to
by
this.
Rupert Murdoch.
Listen to this.
On
We-
animated cartoons
we are
to
in-
have diverse perspectives in this country.
We are in
Don't be elitist. The show's a brilliant
We
political
are-
So we're going to give
we
up
are-
on ABC News and
No,
just
no,
accept the
I'm-
Simpsons?
I used to be able to control my own television program.
Yeah,
We are in the longest
Since you
running...
got sold to Gannett, you have control.
We are in the... That's right. I work for Gannett now. Gannett, a very large newspaper chain, overseer of USA Today, and more television stations than is currently allowed by law, I believe.
largest group in the country.
So that the telecommunications bill is more than a passing interest to Gannett. Here
How's
we
it
are.
affected your
Let me
show,
just
Phil?
make this point.
How's it
So
affected your
far,
show?
no phone call. Let me just make this case. We are in the longest-running democracy in history. We pride ourselves in the First Amendment, this magnificent idea of the framers. We brag about it at every speech at the Rotary Club. And in 1995, we look up to discover that our most liberal expression in our mass media is a cartoon figure. I am saying that in a nation of almost 200 million people, you can't tell me that out there aren't people who, for example, support the single-payer plan from health care. That there aren't people out there who could, if they had free rein from the people they work for, have uncovered Iran scam before a small magazine in Lebanon did. Or who have blown the whistle on Pierce and HUD, or the SNL scandal. These wonderful, vaunted, mainstream newspaper and television people in Washington missed the biggest stories of the Reagan era. Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Why should this be?
Concentration. The last time we had this kind of unprecedented series of mergers was in 83 and 84. It was mergers and deregulation. What happened? You had cutbacks in news and public affairs at all the networks. You had the elimination of investigative reporting.
You don't believe
this, Emily? It's called laziness.
No,
That's
you
why
had,
it wasn't
you had
reported.
the canceling
Oh, it
of
can't
all
be
the
lazy. I don't
educational
think these
children's
people are
programs.
lazy, Emily. I don't think it's laziness.
The tabloid TV show that we so decry in our culture today, that debases our whole, media system.
You mean hard copy?
Hard copy and all the
Go
other
ahead.
shit, all originated
I find
during
what you're saying to
deregulation.
be
More.
such a Johnny One Note. It just is inconsistent with at least my grasp of reality. We have many more magazine shows on television that are trying to do a lot of investigative reporting. And if I may say so, television, by
hope you
its
can name
nature,
them.
Let
excuse
him
me a
make his
moment,
point here.
television, by its very nature, does not take editorial opinions, by and large, okay? So what you do have, if you want to look at a program where there is a lot of, shall we say, what you would call liberal thinking, but I just consider it to be objective thinking, of course.
Okay.
You have McNeil Lehrer, for example, which is a program that didn't exist 15 years ago. And if you want to look at editorial opinions, you do get editorial opinions on newspapers.
Yes.
And a lot of the major newspapers are at least liberal by your standards in terms
Yes.
of at least whom they support politically and
All right.
how they support
All right.
various policies.
I got a break here. They're upset with me already. Mort, you supported CBS's backing away from that tobacco story.
No, I did not.
What did you say on Night Live?
How much time do we have? There is a legal issue here.
So if you sign a contract with your company not to sing, you shouldn't be able to sing.
There are two issues involved. You get First Amendment protection for what you put on the air or what you put
Right.
in a newspaper.
Right.
You don't get First Amendment protection for how you collect the news. You cannot commit a crime, a murder,
What was
a
the
theft,
crime?
a tort. It's called a tort.
In other words, invading a person's written understanding with his corporation.
This is your definition of what the law. The law says that you cannot. It's called tortious interference in a contract.
and it
we
was-
can't do it in any way, and the press can't do it
So,
just because they're the
let me
press.
ask you. Let me understand your position,
and
Mort.
they actually did commit tortious interference in
They
a contract.
did. Because they obliged this man to break his contract with Brown and Williamson. Is that your point?
And they gave him inducements to break that contract, and therefore they would have been legally liable.
I see.
That's why, and by the way, if I may say so, even on the First Amendment, if we think we're going to commit libel in certain ways, we also don't publish it. We have lawyers look at what we do.
All right, let me tell you.
The press does not have an unlimited right to do whatever it wants, even to commit crime.
All right, here's the point, Mort. If an employee of an airplane manufacturer sees them putting defective parts in the airplane, and a plane goes down, killing Mother Teresa and all the Nobel Prize winners in the past decade.
It's a great story. I'd like to
The people come to the guy and they say, you saw this. You saw this. The guy says, I couldn't talk because I had a deal with my company. Are you going to sit here and tell me that a court of law would uphold a tortious interference charge against that guy?
The courts have...
Tell me. There is no investigative journalism if you fold under these circumstances. There is no investigative journalism.
The fact is the courts have upheld situations where, for example, the media offered somebody confidentiality and they violated the confidentiality. The courts said, even if you publish it, even if you think it's very important, you, the media, are liable.
So you wouldn't publish the Pentagon Papers?
Excuse me a minute. We published that very same CBS interview. We published in the Daily News.
Well, good for you, but it doesn't square with your position here, Mort. You seem to be saying that if you've got to deal with your company not to speak, you can't speak.
No, it means I can't do something illegal in order to publish something, even though I am in the media. I do not have that unqualified
So if you go
right.
up to the guy...
If I found out that you, for example, had some lethal weapon and I killed you to get that lethal weapon, I am still liable for killing you.
Let me ask you this question. Suppose you find out that I'm skimming money off the top of my company's till. No. You find out, wait a minute, you find out that...
Getting interesting, folks.
You find out that my company pays kickbacks for defense contracts.
Yeah.
But I have told you that I'm happy to give you this information, but I have a deal with my company. I've signed a contract where I can't talk. If I'm understanding your position, you're not going to publish what I tell you.
Bear in mind, I didn't say it's just you interfere in the...
Tortious
interference.
If
I paid you $100,000 for you to give me that information, that would be tortious interference in the contract. Because that is what the law
of value.
is.
What is the
law says that's an inducement.
You know, only a multinational billion-dollar company gets away with saying to a person who's a whistleblower, we can't pay you because we have to keep our virtue. We're going to keep our virtue by not paying you, and we're going to make $1 billion this year in the process. That does not seem right to me. Putting it another way, the person who gives you information gives you something of value. What's wrong with paying for it? And incidentally, if a Martian lands in your brother-in-law's backyard and gets out and says, take me to your leader, and his wife takes a video of it, don't give it to Disney. Sell it to him. And we'll be back in just a moment.
America, millions of you have skinny hair. Well, stop hiding it. From Conair, get the big curls, hot air, curling iron, and brush. Styles as it dries, brushes in volume. Nobody's bigger in hair than Conair.
Want your toilet really clean? Pour in Clorox bleach after every flush. Or better yet, drop Clorox Automatic Toilet Cleaner in your tank. It cleans with the power of Clorox bleach every time you flush. Clorox Automatic.
Today, let's make an easy scratch pie. Easy? We'll show 'em easy. Just unfold, fill, and bake.
Tender, flaky pie crust is easy with Pillsbury refrigerated pie crust.
It's as easy as hoo-hoo.
Some men think strong opinions are a sign of PMS. Real PMS includes headaches, cramps, bloating, which make you feel miserable. But Midol PMS helps you feel like yourself again, opinions and all.
For PMS, nothing works better than Midol PMS.
Next, Donahue. It's a secret battle waiting to explode. It's black versus Jew.
So you didn't forgive your enemies, but you told us to forgive ours.
Why do I have to endear myself to you?
What's behind this long-standing feud?
I didn't have a problem finding out that you all were involved in the slave trade because it was a financial venture, so I knew y'all was in it.
That's the anti-Semitic racist race.
Blacks and Jews. Is there a common ground?
The enemy comes in all colors.
Next, Donahue.
Monday at 2, here on NBC4.
Being overweight is a chronic disease. Fortunately, now there's a medical solution. Long-term use of appetite suppressants can be a safe, effective way to lose and maintain weight. We have successfully treated thousands of patients under the supervision of medical doctors. Why suffer another day of being overweight when the solution is just a phone call away? Manhattan Medical Weight Control. Finally, a medical solution to a medical problem.
Mort thinks ABC was wrong to apologize. CBS was correct to apologize.
No, they didn't apologize. They didn't publish it because they were breaking the law, and they can't do that.
All right.
And would
But
it be
you
legal?
have to accept the consequences of your position, Mort.
Yes.
What you are suggesting is that anybody who has a contract with their employer not to sing or talk about the company after or while they're employed or after they leave, you have totally destroyed investigative journalism.
No, you have
You
not.
make it impossible.
No, you have not.
How does a whistleblower blow
No,
a whistle when you're going to sing tortious interference?
Baha, as I said, tortious interference in a contract involves providing an inducement. Paying money is an inducement.
He was paid $12,000 because he was an expert on the tobacco industry.
And his legal fees.
Well, that was indemnification.
Therefore, excuse me a second. Therefore, they knew he had a contract that he was deliberately breaking. Therefore, they were a part of that process. We cannot break the law, even though we're a part of the media. Phil, you may not like that, but we are a government of laws still and a country of laws. And we have restrictions on what we can do, even the media. Even the First Amendment does not allow you to publish anything you want.
Okay, if the merger had not been occurring at that time, is it a coincidence that both of these cases occurred when there was a transfer of control by one network to a bigger media company? It wasn't a coincidence.
You have a conspiratorial
view. Very bad signal to journalists, particularly television journalists, all across the country.
You have a conspiratorial view, I must say, of what the networks do and what the companies do that exceeds by far.
It is not conspiratorial.
Your view of them is conspiratorial.
No, I talk to people all the time who work inside and who cover telecommunications and who complain about the concern that producers might have if they do cover the story.
They were legally liable, and that is why they wouldn't have done it even if the merger hadn't been taking place, because it would have cost them billions of dollars in court if they had done something that violated the law.
But it certainly hurried the decision to make those
The decision came up when the decision came up. You recall, Mike Wallace didn't even disclose this to Morley Safer on the Charlie Rose show.
ABC was spending,
they didn't even disclose that they were inducing this guy.
First of all, inducing. The man was paid a $12,000 fee because he was an expert. What's wrong with CBS News paying somebody who's an expert? We do it all the time. We do it with independent journalists. We do it with freelance people. We do it with European streamers.
If you want to do that, you can pay money, but you cannot pay money to people to break their contracts. That is a legal definition, and if you do that, my friend, you are legally liable.
All right, I come to you, I'm going to try this one more time.
We cannot persuade people to break contracts because we benefit. That follows all the way through our economy. It is a company. Excuse me a second. It is what a government of laws means, and it also applies to the media.
Very good. I'm going to try this one more time, Morton, and then I promise you I'm going to move on. I work for Boeing. This is an hypothet, so I don't want to involve. I work for Boeing. I see that they're putting defective parts in the new wide-body 777.
Right.
I come to you, Mort Zuckerman, owner of U.S. News and World Report and the New York Daily News. Right. And I say, Mort, I've seen you on television. You look like a nice guy to me. I'm going to quit my job because I can't possibly continue to observe this criminal activity going on. I am kind of strapped right now. My child is sick and my wife just lost her job. I'm asking you to give me $10,000, and I will give you Xeroxes that absolutely prove that phony parts are going into this aircraft. You're telling me that you're not going to print this story?
If I print the story, which I very well may do, I will be legally liable.
Well, but you just forgave CBS News for not printing the story.
No. They would have, if they had printed the story, they would be legally liable.
But you seem to be excusing them. You said you did the right thing. You said they did the right thing.
I am saying that they would have been legally liable. They made a decision that would have cost them several $billions in court, which it probably would have.
You don't know that. That's the Jack story. There wasn't even a threat of a lawsuit. Several $1 billion, you're going to stand by that? Come on.
They were going to sue them. They've already sued them.
People are dying of lung cancer every day. This man wants to shed light light on it just as an airplane crash
I
would
am
kill
not trying to
people?
justify what the cigarette
It's
companies
an
are doing.
important
I am
story,
just saying
though.
to you that there are certain, even on the media, there are restrictions on what they are allowed and not allowed to do. We are not above the law just because we're in the media.
And we'll be back. We're not above the law?
No, we are not above the law.
I didn't know that. And we'll be back in just a moment.
If you're entitled to Medicare and join HealthNet Seniority Plus, this is what your monthly health plan premium will be. $0, which is exactly what you'll pay for hospital services. $0. And that's just what you'll pay to see your doctor. $0. Speaking of which, we have a network of over 14,000 private practice plan physicians. Phone 1-800-590-6565. HealthNet Seniority Plus.
What's a present the whole family can enjoy?
For a real good present, you should buy them a TV and a couple of tapes.
This Zenith TV is just $189.99 at Sears.
You should get them a TV because they might be bored in their room.
And this Zenith VCR is just $179.99.
You'll get to watch a lot of things.
Both are gifts that will bring everyone together.
Feels like, thank you, Mom.
Still trying to get into that new car or truck you've always wanted? It's easy here at Foothill Nissan. Are you a first-time buyer? Maybe have bankruptcies, judgments, repossessions, bad credit. No credit at all? No problem. $500 delivers the new car or truck that you want at Foothill Nissan. We take pride in having financed over 35,000 customers with credit problems. Hey, that's why they call us the second chance people. Come to Foothill Nissan at 3333 Foothill Boulevard in La Crescenta or call 213-687-7000.
Today at 4 on the Channel 4 News, another major storm zeroing in on the Southland. High winds and heavy surf expected. Residents race to get ready. At 4, Fritz, the AccuWeather forecast. Plus, a very special Christmas gift for one 7-year-old girl. Today, the operation that will have her smiling for the very first time. Then at 5, Princess Diana's got a new boyfriend. The royal workout that led to romance. And at 6, all aboard the Super Scooper. Your first look inside the $1 million firefighting airplane. Today, starting at 4.
Here.
You do?
I'll tell you why. You work for a man named Rupert Murdoch, who owns News Limited of Australia, the News America Publishing Company, Barnes & Noble Books, Murdoch magazines including Mirabella and TV Guide, the Boston Herald, Fox Inc., Fox Broadcasting, Fox television stations in Chicago, New York, Houston, Dallas, Washington, Salt Lake City. He owns HarperCollins. He owns TV Guide. He owns the Zenderban Corporation, Religious Publishing, Basic Books, the New York Post, the San Antonio Express, the Sun.
He just became a partner with MCI.
Was that a question?
He just became a partner with TCI.
I'm glad I didn't have to answer
Just in the last few weeks.
He just gave, or tried to give, over $4 million to the Speaker of the House for a book that nobody's going to read.
He was cleared of having any involvement in that as of today.
Okay, this doesn't bother you.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to read. The book sold 500,000 copies. It was maybe, the advance was inflated, but this is why, can we just come back to reality?
Well, I'd like...
No, it's important.
Well, Ms. Rooney hasn't had a chance.
I know,
just
but at least...
What is your question?
Yeah.
Do you think of it?
Right, Emily.
TV Guide published the Fox television schedule, the Fox network television schedule,
How come it's doing so badly?
and didn't publish CNBC. Little thing. As a Catholic, I would call that a venial sin. But this power doesn't distract you as a hard-hitting journalist?
It does. Actually, it does. I mean, I think that ideology in the news business bothers us, even though we all have it personally ourselves. But if we feel that we're being pushed in a certain direction by our fearless leader, we're going to be nervous about that. I mean, I've only had 1 or 2 meetings with Rupert Murdoch in my life, and it wasn't about this particular issue. But I know he was quoted recently as saying that he felt that Ted Turner's network was too liberal and that he would like to have a strictly objective network. I'm not sure he sincerely means that. I think he might like to see a little bit more of his own persuasion in there. And I also totally disagree with what he said about CNN as well. But if we feel that the long hand of the corporate giants are reaching into our newsrooms, that's where we're going to get really nervous. And people like Jeff and I are going to get out of business.
I keep coming back to this point because I think it's so fundamental. If you have a series of different people, that's the first thing. And this sounds like another one of your topics, but size does matter sometimes. But more important...
You've been watching my program.
Yes, indeed. But
Well,
if,
cool. No,
for
I'm pleased to know
instance,
that.
let's take a hypothetical. If Mort Zuckerman, who owns the New York Daily News, an important New York voice, and let's say hypothetically, as a real estate man, I said hypothetically, somebody says, Mort, you're using your paper to further your ends as a real estate developer. As long as there are other people in New York, like the New York Post, which would dearly love to beat Mort's head in on this, you're going to have some kind of clash. Where I think it is absolutely right to worry is where previous competitors begin to be put together. One of the things we've had in this country over the last 20 years is a virtual elimination of the notion of antitrust laws, not just in media, but all over the place. Just read today, the biggest bank in Boston has bought a competitor. They're going to close branches and eliminate jobs.
Right.
My point, I guess it's the fundamental point I'm making, is that a lot of what people talk about as media problems relate to the broader political culture. You know, if we have a vigorous antitrust operation about banks and Lockheed merging with whoever, then they might also take a harder look at what's going on in media.
But not just antitrust, Jeff, because antitrust laws don't apply perfectly to media companies, because we're talking about the free flow of ideas. And traditional antitrust policy really has not been effective and is not considered effective. That's why you want safeguards. But when you look at what the big media companies are doing now in Congress, they're dismantling decades' worth of safeguards that prevents one company from owning, for example, all the media in a town, and they're not creating any new safeguards.
And they're doing it in front of a public that doesn't seem to care. I have to get this in. Mort has come a long way without my support. God bless the New York Daily News. Operating and owning a newspaper in New York City is no picnic. We certainly don't want New York City to become a one-newspaper town. So hooray for the news. We promote and support its survival. It is good for us, people who live in the Big Apple. It's less reverent. It's closer to the street. And, yes, it is tooth and nail with the New York Post. Hooray, we can use it. They are blowing more whistles and I think puncturing more pretense than would happen if the only survivor were the New York Times. I would like to see more towns in America have more than one newspaper because I believe you're right. The editor of the one newspaper is going to lunch with the power company chairman. He's going to lunch with the mayor and the city commissioner. And it's
but let me tell you what telecommunications bill might do. This bill would allow one person in a town to own several broadcast stations, all the radio stations, the newspaper, and invest in the local cable and telephone
35% of the company. You can cover 35% of the company of television stations and be a single owner.
Most places in this country only have one newspaper.
That's
they
correct.
don't have what we have still in New York, and that's, you know, perhaps a dying breed. You don't want one company to own all the media. And when you look at what the rules are going to be, if you have a program, you're not going to be able to put that program on that cable system or on that telephone system because the person that owns that cable system is going to make all the determination of what's available.
One question for this panel, and you'll pick it up when we have. Has Archer Daniels Midland, for example, inoculated itself against scrutiny because
What, buying time on the ABC
sponsors
network?
Meet the Press, Face the Nation, Brinkley, sponsors McLaughlin? How do you... When was the last time you heard a complaint on television about all the sugar subsidies that ADM gets? The supermarket to the world.
Very interesting point, because the biggest newspaper in America blasted the hell out of them in a series of front-page stories. The Wall Street Journal, not normally considered a liberal paper. And the question is whether or not, and this is one I think that I still maintain, by the way, this would be true, forget media mergers. They sponsored all these programs. The problem of a network, of a television outfit, taking on a key sponsor doesn't go back to mergers. It goes back to the dawn of telecommunications.
Yes,
in the 20s.
But we've never had a situation where it's a multinational company like this has been so ubiquitous. It's on everybody's television program.
Phil, you misunderstood.
So what competition is
You
going?
misunderstood me. I'm sorry. I'm saying that the impact of a large advertiser on decisions to cover news is not rooted in the nature of media mergers. It's rooted in the fundamental problem of big advertisers paying for news. I'm sorry,
commercial media, of our commercial media system. I know, but those problems get
The business
exacerbated.
of the business has taken over.
And we'll be back.
That's
It's
the
a
problem.
boardroom world in just a moment.
It's a secret battle waiting to explode.
So you didn't forgive your enemies, but you told us to forgive ours.
Blacks versus Jews. Next, Donahue.
Hey, get poppin'!
friends, this is a taste you can't resist. I say put a can in every hand. Do the Pringles twist like this. Pop a top, well, keep it fresh. Slip it in. Grab a stack of your favorite snack. Let the fun begin.
There's no stopping once you're popping.
Hey, wake up! Don't get caught holding that bag. Hey, that's no party. Greasy pieces are a drag.
There's no stopping once you're popping.
Once you pop, you can't stop.
I see a lot of people that put up with scratch lenses. And a scratch lens means they're not seeing properly, and for me that's a real problem. LensCrafter's new DuraLens can help make that problem go away. This is steel wool on a typical scratch-resistant lens, and this is a DuraLens. No other plastic lens is more scratch-resistant than a DuraLens. Looks great. Only LensCrafters has them, and even these will be ready in about an hour. DuraLens has helped me help people see better. I feel really good about that.
LensCrafters, helping people see better, 1 hour at a time.
All right, gentlemen. Tomorrow, your butts are mine. Lights out.
Man, I'm hungry.
Russell Athletic Wear is made to handle the toughest situations.
Hot dog, French fries, hamburgers, tacos grande, pizza. Coach, going somewhere, ladies. Hard work, dedication, commitment.
Get Russell Athletic. Get tough.
Get up there, large bud. Go.
Russell, available at Sports Chalet.
These are my old jeans. A caution wide load says on the back seat. And now I'm wearing a size fit. I used to be this big. Big difference. I'm so glad that I called Jenny Craig. I am available. Holy cow, they're so big. Available. I think now that I could probably fit my whole entire body in one of these pant legs.
Start Jenny Craig now and you can lose 20 pounds for $20. Call 1-800-39-JENNY. That's 1-800-39-JENNY. Why wait another day?
Thank you, Jenny Craig.
All right. Maybe we should say something on behalf of money, profit, etc. Does it fund more expensive investigative reporting, etc., etc.? Ms. Rooney, I would ask.
I think it's hurting investigative reporting. I really do. I mean, I saw your little bumper up there. I think there's no question that investigative reporting has been hurt by the business of the business. I was privy to a story about an investigative. I won't name the name of the show because they'd be upset with me, but was going after some people, other than Sam Donaldson, I should add, that were getting subsidies. They were in the entertainment industry. They were getting subsidies for various farm and investments they had. They were not allowed to do that report because these people were either on their network or somehow had advertisers that supported what they did on that show. So it's creeping. It's going further and further and further. And the ABC decision was critical. It really was.
It started, the chill began, you think? I think with the ABC decision
as I say,
to apologize for suggesting that nicotine and tobacco was manipulated.
But certainly on the local news level, we always looked to our networks to be the ultimate protectors. We knew it was happening on the local level, as I said, with the lotteries, the environmental stories and all that. But to see one of the networks capitulate on that is really very frightening.
In the print field, it's the exact opposite way. The more investigative reporting we do, the more news that we make, since we can't keep up to television in terms of bringing you the news instantly, the more news we make through investigative reporting, the more powerful, the more successful our media are, so that both the newspaper and the magazine have large staffs that are devoted exclusively to investigative reporting. Our problem is not that. We can't even recruit the kind of people that we want to do as much as we would like. The more we can do, the better, because that is what gives us strength, credibility, and attracts readers.
But there's been a real decline in the quality of investigative news. At networks like Jeff's, they monitor, for example, with ratings on a minute-by-minute basis, right, the news magazine shows.
They do.
So pieces, for example, pieces that are investigative pieces, right, when they get low ratings, they're canceled. The producers tell other producers, we don't want more shows that look at hard-hitting issues. Right. We want programs that look at diet.
Well, you know, we've been here all this time, and nobody has talked about the one place where you get everything you have to know. Daytime talk shows. And we'll be back in just a moment.
Don't miss the super sale now through Sunday at Robinson's May, with super savings of up to 50% throughout every Robinson's May store. Watch your gift list disappear when you save up to 50% on great holiday gifts for everyone on your list. Buy now, no payment till March. It's the super sale at Robinson's May, with extra super sale hours, 8 a.m. to midnight, Friday and Saturday, 8 to 11 Sunday. Super holiday savings you can't afford to miss during the super sale, now through Sunday at Robinson's May.
Aches and pains acting up again? Wouldn't you love to experience a luxurious full-body massage? Well, imagine 5 sets of massaging hands relaxing every muscle in your body. Now, open your eyes and enjoy Back Pleaser by Homedics with 5 massaging motors for the ultimate relaxation experience. Look, Back Pleaser cushions while it caresses, massaging major stress points and tired muscle groups. Our command controller targets up to 5 body areas at a time. Send relief to each major muscle zone: neck, shoulders, lower back, buttocks, thighs, or choose any combination of the 5. Touch the cycle button to send rejuvenating massage waves up and down your body. You adjust the speed and the strength. Choose a slow, gentle massage to relax, or an intense, fast massage for renewed energy. Best of all, Back Pleaser works anywhere, seated, reclining, or lying down. Turn any surface into your personal massage center in seconds.
You've got to feel this to believe it. It feels like 5 sets of hands.
The tension in my neck is gone. Pain in my back, gone. I love it.
Catalogs sell massaging systems for hundreds, even thousands, and none are as versatile as Back Pleaser. Why pay $50 or more for only 1 visit to a masseur? Get an entire lifetime of relief when you order the Back Pleaser. Yours for just 4 easy payments of $24.95. But wait, order in the next 10 minutes for your free custom adapter for car, RV, or van.
I take it from the office to my car to my easy chair and then to bed. I can't relax without it.
Ask about Back Pleaser with heat, available for just 1 extra payment of $24.95. Don't be fooled by copycat massagers that only work lying down. Order Back Pleaser by Homedics, the dynamic massage system you'll use anywhere, anytime.
To order Back Pleaser, call 1-800-603-2100 or send check or money order for $99.80 plus $19.95 shipping to the address on your screen. Michigan residents, please add 6% sales tax. For fastest delivery, use your credit card and call 1-800-603-2100.
Bill Bennett, Sam Nunn, Joe Lieberman hold a press conference. Shame on daytime talk shows. The sponsors ought to be alerted. We got to do something about this. As the Pharisee who went up to the front of the temple to pray, I am pleased to look up and say, thank God I am not guilty of this.
Not this week. It's not sweeps.
What do you think about that, Jeff Greenfield? Go get him, kid.
Since I believe that the remedy for bad speech is more speech, I think people organizing to try to shame not just the people who produce these shows, because they're beyond shame, but the sponsors and the big shots who put them on is just perfectly fine. I would like.
What do you mean beyond shame? What have they done that's beyond shame?
Oh, for God's sakes! I mean, turn on the television set any day. All right, basically bringing people to display their pain and grief and suffering, families in crisis, before an audience, not these people, who act like they are sitting behind Madame Defarge at the guillotine, is, in my view, my First Amendment right to say it's despicable.
Yeah, and you think that a United States senator should hold a press conference to condemn this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think they should be legislating
They're
good and
not.
bad taste.
To finish the point,
they're
Dan,
suggesting it.
I see nothing wrong with public elected officials saying not ban it, which is what they used to do in the 50s, not you can't go on television because of your political opinions. I'll finish the sentence.
Yeah.
I see nothing wrong with them saying they have every right to put this stuff on, but the people who put it on should be ashamed of themselves. And the people who sponsor it should be ashamed of themselves. I would like to see the respectable men and women behind the large companies that put these shows on shamed to the point where they will not put them on because they can't show their face among their friends. And
But Jess, they're going after the advertisers, and it's the same thing that's happening with the business of the business. Why can't they go after the viewers and say, turn it off or change your dial? Why
They're
go
also
after
going after the viewers. I mean, John Leo was the columnist at Fact at U.S. News who first went after Time Warner, went after Calvin Klein's advertising campaign, went after some of these talk shows that are sponsored by P&G, I believe. I think it's perfectly appropriate for even people in the media to criticize other media. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Well, it better be okay, because we've been doing it for a long time. And I may want to boycott a sponsor someday, so I quite agree that this is certainly a protected form of free speech. Hooray for that. But, you know...
The industry deserves to be criticized,
Oh,
but
yeah,
you would hope that the leaders of the networks would criticize themselves and abandon this kind of bottom-line programming, which we're going to get more of once the deregulation goes through.
And then you're going to have to change the rules. We play the game as it's about how big a crowd you can draw. I ought to know. And we'll be back in just a moment.
America, millions of you have skinny hair. Well, stop hiding it. From Conair, get the big curls, hot air, curling iron and brush. Styles as it dries, brushes in volume. Nobody's bigger in hair than Conair.
I've got kids, so I've got stains. That's why I only use Clorox 2.
Clorox 2 has special stain-fighting enzymes that lift stains, plus more brighteners than other color-safe bleaches.
Clorox 2. Tough on stains, easy on colors.
When Tracy's kids went out to play, she never expected the unthinkable.
We've lost our daughter, our son. We don't know anything about his future.
A shotgun blast left her daughter dead and her son permanently wounded. And the gunman, a 6-year-old boy, the son of her dear friend.
We have to get past this. I miss Tracy. I can't get past it.
Now the grieving parents confront each other. Next, Sally.
Today at 3, here on NBC4.
I'm Richard Andrews at 1-800-LAW in L.A. My law firm has helped hundreds of people who've been injured in accidents and would like to help you. If you've been having problems with an insurance company and feel that you're being treated unfairly, if you've been injured and don't know what to do or where to turn, call me at 1-800-LAW in L.A. for free phone information. You may be entitled to compensation even if you're partially at fault. And if we're your law firm, you don't pay us any fees until your case is settled. Serving Orange County, the Inland Empire, and Greater Los Angeles. Call 1-800-LAW in L.A.
Remember these commercials from One Day Paint and Body Centers?
Body Center. Now we're going to challenge people to guess how much this paint job cost.
It's probably going to cost you $1,200, $1,300 minimum.
$1,500.
I would say at least $1,000.
And remember their reactions when they learned how little it really did cost.
You're kidding me.
Come on.
Well, that would be for the hood. I mean, what about the rest of the car?
Well, here's what makes One Day's paint jobs look so great. After we sand your car by hand and precision mask it, we apply a state-of-the-art sealer and a 2-component paint that is so durable, we can guarantee your car won't fade for up to 5 years. And you'll get a paint job most people think costs hundreds more than it does. So if you want this kind of reaction to your new paint job...
It looks like a new car.
Call One Day Paint and Body Centers now. For a limited time, all of our paint jobs are on sale, starting at only $199. Call the number on the bottom of your screen now to find out more.
I just have to say, Frank Rich is in the New York Times saying, hey, Bill Bennett, you're condemning all this cultural rot in the daytime television when we know there's an option to this kind of programming. It's called PBS, and you and your conservative friends want to cut it. Not only that, you're going to put your Book of Virtues on PBS. Why are you cutting PBS while at the same time showcasing your book? You wanted to say, Miss Rooney, we want to give you a chance here. Please.
What did I want to say?
Well, you are worried. We all ought to be concerned.
We are concerned about the mergers, but I really don't think that that is the biggest problem inside news divisions today. That the influence is really coming from, the outside pressures of competition and the sleazing of some of the investigative reporting, the cheesing up of it, dangerous escalators and that kind of garbage. It's because that's what sells. And some of these more serious investigative and documentary things don't.
Yeah. When Posner and Donahue appeared on CNBC, only one show created havoc for the company. And it was a show featuring Brian Lamb on cable. We had to see the corporate lawyer. We didn't know what we were talking about. Nobody cares about this. It's arcane. It's inside baseball. Don't rock our corporate boat. Now, if GE, NBC, CNBC can put this kind of pressure on us, incidentally, we went ahead with the program, and it was never rerun. It disappeared from the shelf of our other programs. That is very telling. We work for companies that do not want to be criticized. We shouldn't be surprised. I don't want to be criticized. The question is...
Excuse me, you've just made the most important point of this broadcast. Whether it's a $50 billion company or a small-town newspaper covering the local meat market in Ashtabula, Ohio, people who pay the bills don't want to be criticized. And to finish the thought, it depends on a never-ending tension where sometimes the journalists win and sometimes the company
The
wins.
tension is becoming less palpable, though, on the part of those who would celebrate diversity of opinion because of the power of the concentrated interests of a few multinational media companies.
Journalists are losing.
I tell you, I don't agree with that. I think, in fact, by and large, the larger the company, the more diversified their market, particularly the worldwide companies, the more independent they are of any individual advertiser and any individual pressure group. And we have seen an explosion of media in the last 20 years, not a concentration of ownership to some extent, but an explosion of media, and I think it's welcome.
We'll be back in just a moment. You get to speak when we do, in just a moment.
It's a secret battle waiting to explode.
So you didn't forgive your enemies, but you told us to forgive ours.
Blacks versus Jews. Next, Donahue.
Today at 4 on the Channel 4 News, another major storm zeroing in on the Southland. High winds and heavy surf expected. Residents race to get ready. At 4, Fritz, the AccuWeather forecast. Plus, a very special Christmas gift for one 7-year-old girl. Today, the operation that will have her smiling for the very first time. Then at 5, Princess Diana's got a new boyfriend. The royal workout that led to romance. And at 6, all aboard the Super Scooper. Your first look inside the $1 million firefighting airplane. Today, starting at 4.
Keyboard Concepts, LA's largest Yamaha superstore, has just doubled in size and is having a super sale. Keyboard Concepts, LA's largest selection of quality new and used pianos at discount prices. Brands like Yamaha, Schimmel, Steinway, Youngchang, and Clavinova. Player pianos by Yamaha and Piano Disc. Sheet music, including player piano software. Every piano and keyboard in stock is on sale at the Yamaha Super Sale. Keyboard Concepts Superstore, Freeway Close, corner of Burbank Boulevard and Van Nuys in Van Nuys. Or call 800-818-PIANO.
Here I am, 65. Don't have to wear those starched shirts anymore. I can come and go as I please. I'll never be late for work. I'll never have acne again either. And for the first time, my garden will have more tomatoes in it than weeds. Now, I can be stubborn and opinionated, but no one will ever point it out. I think finally I'm going to look good in one of those hats with the small brim.
With age comes certain advantages. Quality healthcare should be one of them. Kaiser Permanente Senior Advantage, a healthcare plan for Medicare beneficiaries with everything you want, like $3 doctor visits, and nothing you don't, like premiums and deductibles. You're even covered for dental, prescriptions, and eyeglasses.
It's going to take a little while before I get this thing down.
Kaiser Permanente Senior Advantage. For a free enrollment package with no obligation, call 1-800-203-4405.
Jeffrey Chester, Center for Media Education, thank you very much for bringing your oversight to our program. Jeff Greenfield, we shall continue to watch and be instructed by your analysis to be seen on ABC during conventions, during elections, and frequently on Nightline. Mort Zuckerman, we read U.S. News and World Report. You are a very valuable alternative to Time and Newsweek. And, as I said before, God bless the Daily News. Emily Rooney, my best to Rupert.
Services provided and promotional fees paid by the following.
Give professional-looking haircuts with Conair's classic 10-piece home haircutting kit and save money with a powerful clipper, scissors, and attachment combs. Experience Calgon Body Wash for a clean that also conditions. Available in 4 gentle formulas. Introducing new Heat Care from Germac, the only heat styling protectant with a unique 2-layer formula. Get twice the care when you blow dry your hair from Germac.
Coming up, 2 families entwined in tragedy. A 3-year-old killed by a 6-year-old neighbor. Now the parents face each other next.
Do you love it? I love it. I got it wrong.
Oh, great.
Do you love it?
I love it.
I love it.
I got it wrong.
Ross has a fabulous selection of holiday gifts. Save up to 65%. Don't you just love it?
I love it.
I love it.
I love it.
Oh.
For great savings on holiday gifts, it's Ross.
I got it at Ross.
Silver bells, it's Christmas time in the city.
Happy holidays from Stater Brothers. This week, Cruise whole smoked ham is value priced at 79 cents a pound. Betty Crocker's Super Moist Cake Mix is a low 59 cents, and red garnet yams are a sweet buy for 25 cents a pound.
The Stater Brothers family wishes you peace, joy, and happy holidays.
If you think Burlington Coat Factory is just great coats, we have great news for you.
I love this place. They're the best clothes. They've got blazers, skirts, blouses, every color.
The prices here are excellent. They're much lower than the sale prices in the department stores.
Children's clothes are wonderful. You just couldn't find better quality anywhere.
The baby department's fantastic. Every name that we've looked for, we found here.
If you need linens, you can come here all the time, and you don't have to wait for a white sale.
Burlington Coat Factory, we're more than great coats.
Just that quickly are the lives of two families shattered forever. When Tracy's 3 children went out to play, she never dreamed of the unthinkable tragedy that followed. A shotgun blast ended 3-year-old Casey's life, crippled 5-year-old Nicholas, and wounded 6-year-old Vincent. But it was no crazed stranger who shot them. It was the 6-year-old son of Tracy's friend Lisa who pulled the trigger. Today, Tracy and Lisa and the husbands are going to sit down for the first time to discuss the terrible tragedy that haunts both families. Lisa and her husband Rocky are waiting backstage, but first, I want you to meet Tracy and Rodney. It was their 3 children who were shot just a few months ago by their friend's child, a 6-year-old neighbor, leaving their daughter dead. Tracy, I know it's very difficult for you. It's very hard for me to believe that a 6-year-old playing with other children could have a loaded gun. Can you tell me what happened that day?
Well, Sally, my father was killed in a car accident, not even a week before this day. And we went that day to take care of some business. We had to come home late in the afternoon. My husband usually gets home at 4. It was around that time. When we first got home, Corey had rode up on his bike. That was something, you know, he did every day.
Corey's the neighbor child.
Yeah.
And when he sees you come home, he rides up.
Oh, yeah. And the children, the boys, Vince and Nick and him, got on their bikes and they were riding. Lisa walked over to me.
Now let me find the ages. Corey is 6, and your 2 sons are?
6 and 5 now.
Okay. And your daughter?
She would have been 4 in September. Okay. And at that time, Lisa and I had been talking with someone. We walked to the front porch, and my husband arrived home. We all went inside together. The boys were still riding their bike. Casey and my cousin was with me. We all went into the house together. Went into the kitchen, and she went to get the pickles out of the refrigerator. She loved pickles. And Rodney told her no. And she threw a fit. She had a way of doing that. And I took the pickles away from her and put them on the counter.